Leo, radiant heart of the Zodiac, listen closely because this message is not random, and neither is your arrival here today. This video is your divine warning. There are 3 very specific places you must stay away from this week. Your angel mother, yes, the one watching over you from beyond, is trying to reach you now, protecting your light from energies that do not deserve it. This is more than astrology. It's a message encoded in the stars, whispered through time, and it landed in your hands for a reason. Have you been feeling off lately? Perhaps walking into a room and suddenly forgetting who you are? Feeling unseen, unvalued, or like your energy gets swallowed whole by the wrong people or places? That isn't your imagination. It's not weakness. It's your inner flame reacting to spaces that aren't aligned with your frequency anymore. This week, Leo, your energy is turning magnetic. You're glowing more than usual. That glow is drawing things in, opportunities, admirers, but also shadows. Envy. Control. Chaos disguised as friendship. And your mother, your spiritual guardian, sees what you don't. She's guiding you away from the traps that could mute your voice, shake your self-worth, or block your abundance. Her message is simple but urgent. My beloved child, choose carefully where you stand, because not every space deserves your fire. Let's be clear, this is not fear-mongering. This is self-honoring. You're not here to dim down. You're here to build an extraordinary life on your own terms. But to do that, you need clarity. You need protection. You need to stop scattering your light in places that only want to consume it, not amplify it. And that's why this video exists. We're going to uncover 3 types of places that can quietly drain your energy, dim your vision, and interfere with your alignment, places that look innocent on the outside, but carry energies that could shake your destiny path. These aren't just physical locations. These are energetic zones. And when you know how to avoid them, everything changes. Suddenly, your light grows louder. Your clarity returns. The right people arrive. The wrong ones disappear. And your mother in heaven smiles because you listened. Before we continue, let me just pause for a moment and say this: thank you. Thank you for being here with me, for watching this message, for supporting eternal mindfulness, this sacred space we're building together. Every like, every comment, every subscriber helps this message travel to the souls who need it most, and I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. If you're already feeling chills, resonance, or even tears welling up in your eyes, leave a comment to affirm your connection to this message. Say something like, I feel her protection, or I'm ready to honor my energy. Your words matter, and when you share your truth, you give others permission to do the same. So stay with me, Leo. I promise you what you're about to hear will shift the way you navigate this week. Not through fear, but through fierce alignment. Your energy is sacred. Your presence is power. And from this moment on, we protect it like it's gold. Let's begin. This week's astrological alignment creates a rare and delicate energy field around you, Leo. With the moon directly opposing your ruling sun, your emotional body becomes more sensitive, more porous. And while that sensitivity might feel like a weakness at first glance, it is in fact your greatest source of intuitive strength if you learn how to navigate it. Imagine your light as a living flame, golden, brilliant, powerful. Normally, this light projects outward with boldness, unapologetic and confident. But when the moon casts its gaze so directly upon the sun, it reflects back the shadow of that brilliance, calling forth old wounds, hidden doubts, and the often unspoken costs of being someone who always shines. When you carry light, you become a mirror. Some people see hope in you. Others see contrast. And some, without even realizing it, begin to take more than they give, drawn to your presence not because they celebrate it, but because they hunger for it. This week, that dynamic is heightened. Your aura glows more intensely, your heart radiates louder, and you become a beacon for energies both nourishing and draining. That is why this moment calls for discernment, not self-sacrifice. You are not here to heal everyone with your light. You are here to direct that light where it can do the most good without diminishing you in the process. There is a story of a flame that once burned steadily in the heart of a vast forest. It brought warmth to animals, guidance to travelers, even awe to those who simply sat in its glow. But one day, it tried to reach every shadow at once. It stretched itself too thin, illuminating every corner indiscriminately, and the cold winds of need and expectation began to blow. Not out of cruelty, but out of imbalance. And slowly, the flame was no longer fed, no longer protected. It flickered, and eventually, it collapsed into smoke. The forest grew cold once more. The lesson? Even fire must choose wisely what it touches. You, Leo, are that fire. And your angel mother, watching with unwavering compassion, whispers, "Not every dark corner is yours to light." This is not a call to withdraw, it's a call to redirect, to become more intentional with your presence. Not out of fear. Out of wisdom. Because true power does not chase recognition. It rests, fully, in its center. And when you are centered, others do not confuse your radiance for obligation. They begin to honor it. This opposition between the moon and your sun may bring emotional surges. You may feel torn between the need to be seen and the need to protect your peace. But both can coexist. This is a week to listen closely. Not just to what people say, but to how your body responds when you're around them. Do you feel soft or tense? Do you feel invited or drained? That sensation is your compass. It is your soul's language, subtle but clear, asking only that you remember your own worth, not as someone performing light, but as someone embodying it. There's a simple teaching passed down for generations: the one who walks through fire must become fire. And fire, when it knows itself, cannot be consumed by anything else. So if you've been feeling exhausted by the act of holding your image together, if you've been performing strength when all you want is softness, know this: your mother sees it. She sees the battle between your inner child and the outer king. And she wants you to stop battling. She wants you to rest, to reconnect, and to realize, you don't have to light up everything. Just light up what matters. If this resonates with you, I invite you to pause for a breath. Place a hand over your heart. And ask yourself, where have I been giving my light away without care? Then, if you feel called, leave a comment to affirm that awareness. Your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. And your flame deserves to burn in places where it is cherished, not consumed. There are moments when your soul doesn't need to be told what's wrong, it already knows. It feels the dissonance long before the mind catches up. This week, Leo, as your light intensifies, you're being called to listen deeply to that inner knowing. Because not every space is meant to witness your fire. Not every environment deserves your full, unfiltered brilliance. And not every person can hold space for your unfolding without trying to reshape you into something smaller, more digestible, more convenient. The first kind of place you must consciously avoid is the one where you are made to shrink. These are environments where your natural leadership, confidence, or enthusiasm becomes a threat to others, where the very essence of who you are is met with silent competition, veiled sarcasm, or emotional withdrawal. You might recognize this in workplaces where your ideas are ignored until someone else echoes them. Or in relationships where your joy is muted because it makes someone else uncomfortable. It's the invisible contract that says, "Dim down, so I can feel big." And slowly, without even realizing it, you start adjusting. You speak less boldly. You walk more carefully. You second-guess what once came naturally. The truth is, those who truly love you will never ask you to get smaller so they can breathe. They will inhale your greatness like sunlight, not shadow. The second type of space to avoid carries the frequency of envy, those subtle undercurrents of comparison and resentment that are hard to name, but heavy to hold. This often shows up in gatherings where your presence is tolerated, but your success is not celebrated. You sense the forced smiles, the quick subject changes when you share good news, the lingering silence that follows your proudest moments. These energies don't always attack you directly. Sometimes, they simply withhold joy in your presence. And that withholding becomes a wall. In the realm of vibration, resentment is like a fog. It clouds clarity, diffuses intention, and makes the path ahead feel far more difficult than it actually is. If you keep returning to these spaces hoping to be seen, heard, or understood, you'll eventually convince yourself you've asked for too much. But you haven't. You've only asked for the kind of love that doesn't shrink in the face of your success. There's a quiet wisdom passed down through experience. When you are truly aligned, others will either rise with you or remove themselves. It is not your task to soften your journey for those who refuse to climb. There is a kind of kindness that becomes self-abandonment. And you, Leo, are not here to abandon yourself. The third space to avoid this week is any environment of sensory chaos, places filled with visual clutter, jarring noise, harsh lighting, or emotional messiness that lingers like stale air. You are ruled by the sun, and like any celestial force, you thrive in spaces of clarity and warmth. Creative energy, for you, is sacred. But when you are surrounded by disorder, physical or emotional, your ability to channel vision, to lead with clarity, to create from center, begins to fracture. It's like trying to write poetry in the middle of a thunderstorm. The words might come, but the soul cannot settle. Ask yourself, do I feel expanded or contracted in this space? Do I feel safe to exhale fully, or am I bracing against invisible noise? True royalty does not build their throne in the marketplace. And the sovereign within you cannot command from a battlefield of energetic debris. Choosing to step away from places like these is not an act of pride, it is an act of alignment. When you choose peace, resonance, and joy over obligation, chaos, and guilt, you make a declaration: my energy is sacred. My light is not up for negotiation. Take a moment to reflect. Have you been offering your light to spaces that only reflect shadows back at you? If so, say it in the comments. Let this be the place where you reclaim the full size of your spirit. You do not need permission to take up space. You are the permission. When you begin to reclaim your energy, it's not always loud. It doesn't look like a grand rebellion or a dramatic departure. Sometimes, it starts quietly in the way you breathe more deeply before speaking, in how you pause before entering a space that doesn't feel right, in how you choose silence over explaining. This quiet shift is the essence of true protection. And Leo, your energy this week is too sacred, too finely tuned, to be left exposed. You've already seen how environments can shape the way you feel, how certain people seem to lift you higher while others subtly ask you to dim. That's why this part of the journey is about cultivating inner rituals that allow your fire to remain steady, no matter what winds blow outside. One of the most grounding practices you can adopt right now is a simple visualization I call the eternal flame. Set aside just 5 minutes in the morning or evening. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and imagine a warm, golden flame nestled in the center of your chest. With every inhale, the flame grows brighter. With every exhale, it expands gently outward through your ribs, your skin, the room, and eventually the entire space around you. Don't force it. Just breathe and allow the warmth to carry your awareness. This is not about escaping, it's about returning home to your center, to the original fire within you that has never gone out, even when you forgot it was there. To deepen this connection, imagine that flame rooting you into the earth. Visualize roots thick, ancient, wise, growing from the base of your spine and the soles of your feet, extending deep into the soil. These roots don't just anchor you, they feed you. They remind you that you don't have to chase energy, you generate it. That no matter what others say or do, you belong to the earth and the present moment. And in this moment, you are safe. Your physical body is not separate from this process. In fact, it holds the key to much of your clarity. The solar plexus, the energy center located just above your navel, is the source of personal power, self-trust, and confident action. And it thrives on nourishment that matches its frequency. Consider adding golden, vibrant foods to your meals this week. A warm cup of turmeric tea in the morning. A handful of ripe mango in the afternoon. A simple soup made with pumpkin or squash in the evening. Each choice becomes a prayer, a message to your body that says, I honor my fire. I choose to feed it. Alongside this, I invite you to begin your day with 3 gentle affirmations. They aren't mantras to chant blindly, but mirrors reflecting back the truth your soul already knows. Say them slowly, with presence, and listen to how your body responds. I do not need permission to shine. I choose spaces that honor my presence. I am a magnet for creative freedom and inner peace. Don't worry if you don't believe every word at first. Speak them anyway. In time, your energy will rise to meet your voice. There's a teaching that says, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. When you show up for your own energy with gentleness and respect, the world around you begins to mirror that. It may not happen overnight. But soon, you'll notice the shift: fewer situations that drain you, more interactions that inspire. And in moments of doubt, you'll come back to this knowing. Your light doesn't flicker based on who's watching. It burns because it's who you are. This week, as you return to these rituals, your breath, your body, your flame, remember that protection is not about walls. It's about devotion. Devotion to the life you are here to live. to the peace you are worthy of, to the joy you no longer need to explain. Let your healing begin not with striving, but with stillness. And let that stillness lead you home. Every week, the universe speaks, but not always through thunder. Sometimes, it's through color. Through a number on a receipt. Through a flicker of sunlight on your skin at just the right moment. And when you learn to listen with your whole being, these subtle signs begin to weave a tapestry of guidance that feels both intimate and vast. This week, Leo, the signs are particularly vivid, like brushstrokes on a canvas that was once blank, now suddenly alive with color and direction. You are being asked not just to see, but to notice. Not just to interpret, but to remember. The colors surrounding your energy field now are vibrant orange and golden yellow. These aren't just pretty shades, they are carriers of frequency. Orange stirs the energy of passion, creativity, and movement. It's the color of bold expression, of rising courage, of the life force that surges through you when you speak from your heart. And gold is your birthright. It activates the solar plexus, your inner throne of self-worth and leadership. Together, these tones do more than decorate your world, they command it. When you wear them, eat them, meditate on them, or simply place them in your space, they remind your system what it already knows. You are not here to be quiet. You are here to rise. And in the quiet pattern of numbers, this week echoes with two powerful codes. First, the number 3, a sacred triad of creation, self-expression, and joyful communication. It is the number of the storyteller, the artist, the one who uses voice, movement, or design to turn truth into beauty. When 3 appears in your orbit, it's a sign that your words matter more than you realize. What you share now, even casually, can ripple further than you intended. That is both a gift and a responsibility. Pause and ask, are my words aligned with the energy I wish to create? Am I speaking life, or leaking power? Then comes the number 11, often misunderstood as just another repeating number, but it is far more. 11 is the opening, the gateway, the moment where 2 parallel lines stand still and ask, are you ready to cross? It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks for presence. For willingness. For trust in a path that can only be revealed step by step. If you've been sensing the pull to leave behind the familiar, to express something, change something, create something that both excites and unnerves you, 11 is your confirmation. The gateway is open. But it will only respond to your courage. You may also begin to notice symbols repeating in ways too precise to be coincidence. The image of the sun, for example, in book covers, in your dreams, in unexpected street signs. This is not decorative. It is directional. The sun is your ruling force. It represents clarity, vision, purpose. And when it appears again and again, it's as if life itself is whispering, stay bright, even when clouds try to dull you. Don't mistake fog for failure. The sun never disappears. It only waits. There is a quiet teaching passed down like breath between generations. The truth reveals itself through repetition. So when you begin to see 3s, 11s, golden light, or the face of the sun in unusual places, pause. Close your eyes. Ask, without words, what are you showing me? Then listen, not with your mind, but with your breath. The answer will not shout. but it will settle. If you've already begun noticing these signs, or if something inside you stirs at the mention of them, leave a comment to acknowledge that connection. Say something like, "The signs are showing up," or "I've seen the sun too." Your words will not only confirm what your spirit knows, they will activate the momentum behind it. And someone else, reading what you wrote, may remember that they too are not imagining the messages. They are simply awakening to the rhythm beneath the noise. This week, allow yourself to be guided not by logic, but by resonance. Let what glows lead you. Let what repeats reveal its pattern. And let the colors and numbers and symbols of your days speak to the part of you that never forgot how to listen. There's a quiet truth most people overlook. Your outer life always mirrors your inner alignment. When love feels heavy, when work drains instead of ignites, when your finances feel stuck or your health feels shaky, it's rarely because of one dramatic event. It's often because somewhere along the way, you began adjusting your light to fit a version of yourself that no longer feels true. But Leo, your nature was never meant to be compact or convenient. You are the flame that reminds others to wake up. You don't just walk into a room, you shift the temperature of it. And when your light begins to flicker, it's not time to force yourself through, it's time to pause and realign. In love, this week is asking you to listen more carefully to your body than to someone's words. Love that constantly asks you to tone yourself down, hide your radiance, or edit your enthusiasm is not love, it's management. It's conditional comfort. And the love you deserve, the kind your mother in heaven wishes for you, is the kind that sees you fully even when you're raw, imperfect, or momentarily lost. It's not about who shows up on your best days. It's about who remains steady when your voice shakes, when your eyes are tired, when the crown tilts a little. So if you're holding on to someone or something that only welcomes you when you perform your light, ask yourself, is this love, or is this a role I'm afraid to quit? Your career path, too, is whispering for recalibration. If the spark is gone, it's not because you've failed at it, maybe because your soul has grown beyond the current container. There's a teaching that says, when the fruit is ripe, it naturally drops from the tree. The same applies to projects, teams, or roles that no longer nourish your deeper why. Instead of pushing through fatigue, revisit the original seed. Why did you begin? What lit you up before metrics, deadlines, and expectations crowded in? You may not need to quit entirely. But you do need to reignite the spark, not for productivity, but for presence. Without presence, even success becomes a burden. Financially, this is a time to invest in what feeds your spirit, not just your wallet. Creative fields like art, media, education, or soulful mentorship hold energy that matches your frequency now. It's not about taking a risk just to prove something. It's about choosing resonance over reaction. What you pour energy into this week will carry long echoes, so be intentional. Ask yourself not just, will this grow, but will I grow in the process of building this? That one shift in perspective can save you years of chasing outcomes that leave you empty. And finally, your health, the often ignored compass. Your body carries wisdom your mind has forgotten. When your heart space feels heavy, when your upper back tightens, when your breath becomes shallow, it's not random. It's accumulation. It's your system saying, we've held too much for too long. You don't need to sign up for something drastic. You don't need to overhaul your diet or run marathons. Sometimes, 10 minutes of gentle movement in the morning, especially dancing freely, without mirrors or pressure, can unravel layers of stored tension. Let your body move in a way that says, "I belong here." That's healing. That's enough. The practice of presence, of returning again and again to what feels real rather than what looks right, is the root of sustainable transformation. And when you commit to living from that space, whether in love, in work, in money, or in health, you stop chasing the idea of fulfillment. You start embodying it. That's the difference between a life that impresses others and a life that nourishes you. Let this week be a reset. Let it be the moment you ask deeper questions and wait for honest answers. Not from others, from yourself. And if reading this has stirred something within you, if you felt even a slight nod from your body, a whisper in your heart, take a moment to reflect. Then, if you feel moved, share in the comments what part of this message resonated most. Sometimes your story is the light someone else needs to find their way back to themselves. Maybe, just maybe, this entire message wasn't meant to arrive like a thunderclap. Maybe it came as a quiet remembrance, a thread that gently pulled you back to yourself. Leo, if you're still here with me now, then I know you felt it. Not just heard it, but truly felt the presence of something deeper, a wisdom, a love, a knowing that transcends the noise. Perhaps it came in the soft echo of your mother's voice from beyond, or in the warmth rising in your chest when you realized you don't need to beg for space. You were born to take up space. You don't need to prove your worth. You are the evidence of it. Your angel mother isn't watching from a distance. She's been walking beside you through every doubt you whispered silently, every moment you traded your radiance just to be accepted, every room where you felt too big and shrank down just to fit. And now, she's asking you to stop shrinking. She's asking you to remember that love doesn't demand you to go everywhere, it simply asks you to show up fully in the places that truly honor your presence. You are not here to rescue every corner of the world. You are here to choose the ones where your light creates roots, not resistance. So ask yourself, gently and honestly, where have you been offering your energy out of habit instead of alignment? What spaces have you outgrown but stayed in, out of guilt, fear, or loyalty to an old version of yourself? And most importantly, where in your life are you ready to stop whispering and start roaring again? This isn't about walking away from everything. It's about walking back to yourself. It's about reclaiming your yes and, more importantly, your no. You don't need to go everywhere to be seen. You just need to be in the right place. And when you find those spaces, those people, those rituals, those environments, you'll feel it instantly. Your body will breathe deeper. Your voice will flow freer. Your creativity will return not as a task, but as a joy. And your soul, it will stop asking for permission. You have a choice this week. You can repeat the same energetic patterns, or you can break them, gently and consciously. You can continue dimming your fire to avoid making others uncomfortable. Or you can finally let it blaze for the people, the work, the places that want your warmth. What would change if you believed your energy was your most sacred currency? What would shift if you trusted that your light alone is more than enough? Let this be your turning point, not just a moment of inspiration, but a call to real, grounded change. Not rushed. Not extreme. Just intentional. Start by asking, what would honoring my energy look like today? And then listen, without judgment. Your inner fire already knows the answer. And if something stirred in you during this video, if you felt seen, held, remembered, please take a moment to share that below in the comments. Maybe you want to write, "I'm choosing where to shine." Maybe you've been seeing Cygnus sun symbol, the number 11, and you finally understand what they meant. Share that. Your voice isn't just for you. Someone else may be searching for a reflection, and your words could be their compass. Before we close, let me take a quiet moment to say thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for allowing eternal mindfulness to be a part of your path. Every like, every comment, every subscription is not just support, it's an act of spiritual community. And it's what allows us to keep sharing messages like this, week after week, from soul to soul. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to Eternal Mindfulness. Stay connected with the energy that sees you, hears you, and honors your evolution. And Leo, please, don't forget, your light isn't just something you carry. It's the legacy of every woman who ever prayed you'd rise. Your angel mother included. Now go, and shine, but only where your light is loved.